Hello and welcome to the first edition of 2021's Friday with Fran. We are so glad you're here. Today, we are going to talk about how do you handle fear? We're going to talk about individual ways that Fran and I handle fear, and then we're going to talk about some ways to possibly help our children who have, excuse me, who have special needs handle fear. So, Fran, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. And we did not plan to both have pink on. When we both got into the cameras and saw each other, we were both wearing pink. So apparently it's pink day. Although Cooper doesn't have any pink on, I just noticed.
Oh, do I need to go switch his shirt?
No, I think it'll be okay.
I can.
No, that's okay. He looks pretty content, so I don't really want to disturb him.
Okay.
So, Fran, this was a topic that you thought about. So, hi, Alex. So, what kinds of things have you had that have been fearful in your life, or what is there something that you're going through now that is causing you some fear?
Well, you could go with a bunch of different aspects of fear.
Mm-hmm.
I can scoot up.
No, I wanted to sit back, so I had to.
Oh, okay. there's
sorry, computer issues.
There's physical fear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Sorry, Mom.
There's physical fear of things in the physical. There's mental fear, spiritual fear, in just fear, and like right now, there's like a multitude of I could be fearful in lots of ways.
Sure.
With whatever's going on in the world, both with COVID and whatever's happening in this country and whatever's happening. Oh, there it is. Briefly.
Yeah. Hi. Oh, thanks.
So, so that was kind of what was on my mind was I was like, and then I had to take my daughter to the doctor, and she might have needed to get some blood work, and she has a fear of needles. Like not beyond
uncontrollable.
Yeah, I have a word finding today problem.
It's
but,
okay.
It's not it's beyond reason fear. So I was like, you just gotta it's just like a finger stick. I don't want a finger stick. So I was like, oh my, there's all kinds of things. So that was on my brain when you said, so what's on your brain? That was on my brain.
Okay.
So how's that?
And yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, there are so many things, especially right now, like you mentioned, that we as adults don't have control over. And there are so many things beyond even what adults don't have control over that kids don't have control over, or any say in how they are allowed to respond. And so, what is something that you did with your daughter? Or were you able to do anything? Because sometimes the fear is so strong that it's not a simple don't do or do. It's like, it requires a lot of time and a lot of thought and maybe some therapy. So was there something that you could do for her in the moment?
Well, we talked it through. And the choices, the medication she's on, and why she has to have levels. And well, that was your choice. You chose to get on this one rather than this one. So if you would rather change, that's an option. However, so we tried the adult approach and reasoning, and it worked to a degree, and then the fear overtook, and when it happens, and that's something I've learned just in general, you cannot reason when they're beyond understanding.
Yeah.
And we've talked on that many a time here. And how is it in your behavior? What do you call it?
You're irrational. You
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
think
but like
straight.
in your behavior processing, your plan, you talked about it often.
Yeah.
Um,
That
where
our ability to rationally
de-escalation, yeah.
think decreases with the more anxiety, the more emotion that we're involved in.
Hmm. So it just became a matter of, okay, we're just not going to talk about it anymore because there's no point.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, Mom, you better go change. You gotta put pink on.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, I gotta tell you this, and then maybe it'll quit making me distracted.
Okay.
I switched monitors,
Oh.
and I put my daughter got a TV, so I put her TV as my primary monitor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but it's really big when I look at myself, and I work close to. And then I have another monitor running us on YouTube and another monitor running us on Facebook. So it's
Oh my
like
gosh.
and they're all big monitors, so it's kind of strong.
Yeah, when we first started doing these, I would have my phone nearby just to make sure that it would go live and that it was streaming. Um, but then I dropped my phone a couple times, or my phone
Uh-huh.
fell off the holder a couple
Yeah.
times, and thought, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. And plus, there weren't any problems, so I didn't feel like I needed to have that second screen. I don't think I would be able to focus if I had YouTube on one side and Facebook on the other side and us in the middle, or some other combination. So kudos to you for for having
Well,
all of that up and running at
somebody
once.
said that I have a monitor problem, but but it does help me in some degree. But can you see that at all?
No,
No.
it wasn't in the picture. Oh, there. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, now I can see what your
So
view looks like.
anyway, okay, sorry.
Well,
That was my chipmunk.
so
So
I told you before we started that I'm not using it yet, but I did get a webcam for Christmas. So possibly by the next time we're on, I might have a different setup for myself, and then I'll be going
you'll have
through
chipmunks.
what you what you're going through. And Alex says, Fran can't focus with less than 3 monitors.
But it really okay. It helps me with my eyes. It's been a blessing to have the bigger monitor as I edit videos. So
That's good. Yeah.
um,
Well, you got to do what you got to do. So, I mean,
and I've been editing a lot of videos recently. So
if that works for you, I don't know that, like my husband, Kevin, he wants me to have 2 monitors. And I know a lot of people do when they do different things. And I'm willing to try it,
really.
but it's going to take some getting used to on my part. So,
And I have spares if you need any.
okay.
Just a couple.
Yeah. Well,
no one on the wall right now.
He went to our electronic graveyard that we have in our house, and he found one. So
Okay.
he'll have to set it up. But anyway, so talking about fear.
Okay, you need to tell everybody we have not connected since
We didn't.
prior, and so you're just getting. This is us.
Yeah, you're watching us get caught up because we have not spoken to each other since the last Friday with Fran we had. So that's been for Fran. That's been this way. B number of weeks. For the rest of you, it's been 2 weeks. And so there's a lot of things that have happened, and so we apologize. We will get back on track. So, so was there anything in that moment? So you said you tried to talk to Allie, but that wasn't doing it in the moment.
Ultimately, I gave her space.
Okay.
And then we went in and saw the doctor and ended up not having to need the blood work at that point. But giving her space and just allowing her to do what she needed to do. But sometimes you can't do that. And that can be, and that then how do you balance? I snuck the word in. How do you make it um, you got to keep going. You can't stop.
Right.
And
Right.
how do you do that without dragging your child
Yeah.
to do whatever into that situation? I
Right.
think sometimes that's the question.
And I would definitely agree. I mean, my own child has obviously had fears in her lifetime. She's 21 now, so I'm sure she still faces them, but I'm not around her as often to help her get through them. Um, she was able most of the time for us to be able to talk to her and kind of go through the rational things ahead of time if we knew that something might cause her some anxiety or cause her some fear that we were getting ready to do. Um, but yeah, I mean, there were some times where it was just, you're just going to have to go through this fearful, and you can hold my hand and I'll be with you every step of this situation, and be there to support you in however way I can, but I can't take it away. Like you said, sometimes you can't make it better. Um, And so, if anybody that's watching, we've got looks like 6 or 7 people watching with us live. So, if you have um, ways that you handle fear, or ways that you have seen other people handle fear that maybe you haven't been able to adopt for yourself, but you know that it works for some people, we would love to have you comment those things. But so, Fran, you and we've mentioned this many times before, um, we have very strong faith. And in the Bible, which is our book that we go to um, very often, there are a whole calendar's worth of scriptures. So, for those of you, 365 at least scriptures in the Bible that talk about do not fear. Um, and I struggle with that sometimes still, but I am getting a lot better when things start to make me fearful, like the things that were happening a couple of days ago in Washington, D.C. Um, I started to get a little bit of fear for our country, I had a friend who was out there during that time, so I was starting to become fearful for her. And for me, once I realized that I wasn't giving it to God and I was trying to somehow take care of it myself by just worrying about it, then I was able to start getting those scriptures and to start focusing on, no matter what happens in Washington, D.C., no matter what happens in the United States or anywhere in the world, my God that I believe in is still in control and is still sovereign.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that helps me tremendously when I am facing fearful situations or situations that could cause me anxiety. Um, so what is something that you do personally?
Well, aside from digging in the Word and the Bible, or praying, or just having to give it to God and place it at His feet, I know that breathing, just taking a moment and just stopping
Mm-hmm.
and just taking a couple of deep breaths and just exhaling the fear as you exhale and inhaling peace can really. Oh, we're gonna have a cat now too. Um, can really help with um, grounding. I think that's the wording, grounding myself to the moment, and um, get, because sometimes I know I can't say for sure, but it's probably like if you're in the moment and you're full of fear, it's almost like drowning, where you just don't know what, there's nothing to grasp at. You're just grasping and grasping, and
Right.
everything you grab is kind of like jello. There's nothing on which to hold. Your hands just slide off or squiggle through.
Right.
So for me, I know breathing is very important. It gives me that moment. It's like that pause button.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'm like, oh, okay, and then I can get a breather. Or sometimes, okay, so the breathing doesn't work, or it gives me enough of a pause to realize, oh, I need a little more assistance than I need a little more assistance here on Earth, and I'm not in the moment able just to trust God. I should be able to, but maybe in that moment I'm not.
Right.
So then I do the phone a friend, uh,
Hmm.
and because we're not meant to do it alone,
Right.
and that's why I'm reading through the Bible again. This all these calendars, and this
Hmm.
time I'm focusing on prior. I've been working on who my identity is, but now I'm focusing on who God is, and Jesus and the Spirit and the different things He can be. So it's really been an eye opener and all that. Um, so so I just uh, I got lost track. Oh yeah, oh
Squirrel.
yeah. But he was talking. The very beginning, God created the earth, but it was talking about how He created Eve because man was alone, Adam, and so but it also talked about how we're not meant to be alone, and we need to go. God meant for us to go through life with Him and with others.
Right.
So realizing that a lot of people think that it's a weakness to ask for help, and somehow in society we not as much in some ways, but it still is pushed that you're weak when you're asking for help, whether it's professional help or help of a friend or someone from a church or just anything. You just um, but it doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you strong because you know your
Right.
weakness and where you need to grow and you need help.
Right. And we
So
we all have areas that we are strong, and we will gladly help other people, because maybe for them that's an area of weakness, not necessarily being weak, but they're just not as strong in a particular area. But
mhm.
then I know for me, it is harder for me to remember that I also, when I have a weakness, can and should reach out and rely on those people in that moment that are stronger than me. Sometimes I'm the one that people reach out to because in that moment I'm stronger for them, and sometimes the tables are turned, and it's okay both ways.
Mhm.
So, Alex says that she tries to break down what I can do right at the moment to lessen the fear and what can or has to wait until another time. And
I like
that's, yeah, that's an excellent strategy. That's actually one that I have used with myself, with um, my family, and with my students. You know, because a lot of times our students are afraid of failure, and so their behaviors that they show us are because they feel like they're just not going to be successful, whether it's in academics or in a social situation, um, in an emotional situation, whatever it is. And so teaching them and working through those, you know, what are you fearful of? If you can figure out exactly what it is that makes you fearful of something, because a lot of times we want to make something, you know, bigger than it really is, because we just get all wound up in the fear and the anxiety and the worry. But usually it's just a sort of a small thing that really
mountain
is,
out of a molehill.
huh?
Mountain out of a molehill.
Yes. Yeah. And so when we can get down to the molehill and figure that out, and then we can focus and tackle that one part. And then, like Alex said, you know, sometimes we can go ahead and move forward, and sometimes we have to put some of it aside and say, I'm going to have to deal with that later. But right now, I can do this.
Hmm.
So what are some things Did you have any particular strategies? Me. You have a new cup. What happened to the chaos cup?
The stress cup,
Yeah,
it's
the
in
stress
there,
cup.
but I had that one. I had to show you that one. I thought it
Oh,
was
okay.
appropriate.
Um,
Um, and
so
then
what are some strategies?
some strategies. Okay, so I think, well, we've talked on breathing,
Hmm.
and another strategy for me is allowing myself to feel the fear and to walk through it
Hmm.
and to grow through it. Um, hmm.
And like Allie, every time you walk through the fear and you get past the point that was fearful to you, you've just made yourself stronger. And so then you can look back at that experience and say, okay, I had to do this once before. It was bad, but I got through it. And then,
Mhm.
like that, if she has to get a blood draw on a regular basis, hopefully every time she does it, she can get through it a little easier than the time before. No, not so much.
Um, well, we've found that she does better if we do it in the town in which we live
Okay.
with a certain person, then so we tend to try to do that.
Hmm.
And
And that's a strategy. That's a coping mechanism, where she's comfortable. Um, because if we're uncomfortable, then that already puts us on edge. And then we have to
right.
do this thing that we don't like. Um, for me, one of the things that I am fearful of is having to get to is to not have control of my arms. Um, so if I have to get an MRI done and I have to lay on the table and I'm not supposed to move, and then they have to, take me in that tunnel and like do one of my head, um, that makes me very fearful because I feel like I don't have control to get out if I need to. Um, and so when I've had to do those in the past, I've not gotten to the point where I need to take medicine, but I've been very close. Um, and thankfully, those technicians, they deal with people every day that have the same similar fear. And
Mhm.
so the particular technician that I had the last time I had it done, she told me, she's like, okay, now this part is going to be 3 minutes long. Um, and so I started counting backwards from how long that was. And then we were finished before I got to this number, that
Mhm.
number. um, and so then, and then I think there was music playing. And so I was really trying to focus on the music that was playing, and not think about what my fear was about. So that was my strategy was like, okay, I know how much time it's supposed to take. So I'm just gonna, like, okay, this really isn't a very long amount of time. Um, and so I was able to get through it. And also the last time I had it done, Violet was near me. Um, and so I was like, okay, I can't have a panic attack in front of her. So like I had to will myself almost to not have it. And for me, that works because I'm a very strong willed person.
Never.
And I know nobody who knows me would think that about me at all. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, that was kind of a motivation for me. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, she's in the room. I got to stay calm. How can I teach her if I can't follow sorry, there's a hair in my face. If I can't follow my
Mhm.
own advice that I had given her,
Right.
but that wouldn't work for everybody.
No, and I'm just thinking on the MRIs, and then Alex has some comments there too. I
Yeah.
had the I had a friend that had a problem with it,
Are you
and
saying really to me, Alex? You don't think I'm strong willed?
they put a washcloth over her face, over her
Oh,
eyes, and that
yeah.
helps. Like she could put a washcloth over her eyes.
Uh-huh.
Or for me, I memorize scripture or I pray.
Hmm.
But actually, most of the time when I get an MRI, I'm kind of weird. I take a nap.
Oh, I wish I could be that relaxed. Well, thanks. I'm glad. Then you maybe don't know me as well as you thought you did. Because my mom is on here. I'm sure she should just, chime in and say, "Oh no, she's the most easygoing person ever. She'll have all kinds of, you know,
Mhm.
stories about me being very easygoing." Um,
Do
I am
do you
easygoing. I just when I
Mhm.
set my mind on something, it's going to happen. Both my mom and I do not like to be told no, that we can't do something or we won't do something. So yeah. And for those of you that watched several episodes back, when we were talking about the fact that when she was pregnant with me, she got out of her car because the people parked too close to her, and wrote them a nasty note and put it on their car because they were rude. That, you remember that we were talking about just having common courtesy for people.
Yeah,
So yeah, I get a little of that from her, just a
just a little bit.
little.
Did you see the other comments that Alex had made? There were
Yep.
some
I'm
really good
sorry.
ones there.
She writes things out, which is another. Now, when you say that, Alex, do you do that? Because sometimes we know that we're going to have to do something, and we're fearful to do it, and so therefore we can prepare ahead of time. Is that when you do this, or do you do it in the moment that you're fearful of whatever?
Mhm.
And yeah, she also said, when I was talking about breaking things down, which was a follow up to her comment, that yeah, it's more manageable if we try to deal with everything everything all at once instead of little components.
Mhm.
It makes it much more difficult. Mom said, "Hey, that was easygoing, the way she got in the car and left that note for the people who parked too closely to her."
Uh,
Um, and that was just, I think that was our episode before Christmas break, where we talked about that, just the common courtesy from anybody to anybody else.
right. Yeah.
So okay, so we've said write things out. We've said breathe, take some deep breaths. We've talked about prayer. We talked about breaking it down into smaller chunks.
We talked about just going through it.
Going through it. Yep. So
Um,
I think about children, and I've mentioned what I'm about to say before, social stories. If you don't know what a social story is, it's just a little story, 4 or 5 pages long. Depends on the reading level of the person that you're reading the story to, or that is reading the story. And it basically, it's one that you do ahead of time, and you do it multiple times. I actually have one on my website right now for kids who are out of school and don't understand why they're out of school, and it bothers them that they're out of school. So if you're interested in that, or you're just interested to see what a social story would look like, you can go to my website, and you can just let's see, where's my website? There it is. And you can just, on the front page of the website, you can scroll down and you can get a free social story. But it's a way to train the brain, so that it doesn't fear or worry about certain situations. They're very specific. They're not, you can't just say, okay, well, we're never going to be fearful. It's about specific things. So I can help write those for somebody if somebody has a child that's going through something and you think a social story might be helpful. I can certainly help you write them. Like I said, they're very simple. Some have graphics, some have pictures, some just have words. So that's something that I used to use a lot with my students, especially my students who were anxious for different things. It works well for kids with a lot of unwanted behaviors, to try to help them, because once you figure out what the reason is behind the behavior, then you can address that in the social story. So I asked Alex about the writing things out when she does it, and she says mainly ahead of time if she can. Help break it down and make it easier to handle. It helps me to see what is realistic. Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. So what else, Fran?
Well, okay. I know I'm sitting here and I try to, for me, it just keeps coming back to being grounded. But something that had come to mind as you were sharing just now, though, about um, the kids in school that with whom you'd worked, or the thought figuring it out is, and we've talked on this many, many times, is you can't take it personally when they are afraid. It's not that you're a failure, that they have a fear of something very, very silly sometimes.
Right.
To you,
Right.
it's silly. To them, it is not silly. It's kind of, it reminds me just now what, sorry, that was my phone vibrating really loudly. Um, what reminds me of a horse came to mind. And if they don't know, if they've never encountered it, they can be skittish.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be something as simple as a towel flapping on drying, to that big old scary Walmart bag that might be billowing down the road,
Mm-hmm.
to a bird fluttering out of the bushes. It's just so, and you're not going to take your mat out on the horse, and
Right.
you're so, the same concept. You can't take your mat out on your kid or your
Right.
student or the person that has that fear, because until they understand it, how can they grasp it and overcome it?
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that's the gist of where I am in that thought process.
And I don't think we've said it, but acknowledging that to them the fear is real.
Mm-hmm.
And like you just said, we may think they shouldn't be fearful of whatever it is because it is such a small thing in our minds. But the reason it's such a small thing in our minds is probably because we've already experienced that, and we know logically how that, whatever that is, will turn out. But they haven't had those experiences yet. And I think that's probably, speaking of that, the biggest fear is the fear of the unknown. What's going to happen? How's this going to turn out? And again, for me, I can look back and I can look back and see that God is taking care of me in every situation that I've ever gone through, even when I wasn't following him in the same way that I'm following him now.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes things turned out differently. Well, a lot of times actually, things turned out differently than I thought they would, but I was still okay when it was over. And so that for me has also been a big help in facing fears of things, is that okay is good enough sometimes, and okay might look different than what I thought it was going to be, but I survived. And I'm not really sure I said that the way I wanted that to come out, but being able to trust that I'm still going to be okay, no matter what I go through. I'm not sure exactly how I came to that point or at what age I came to that, but I know that has helped me quite a bit. But again, that goes back to my trust in God, that God's gonna, I'm trying to think of ways to help people who don't have that same faith and that same trust that I have, because not everybody has that. And so, I'm not diminishing anybody's fear or anybody's strategy to cope with that fear.
Mm-hmm. I keep coming back to this song, and I know we can't play songs, It called Fear is a Liar.
Oh yeah, I love
I,
that song.
I think it's by Matthew West.
I think
Um,
so.
but it talks about fear is a liar, and I'm going to mess up the whole song. But anyway, someone could look it up. Maybe you could put it in your thing, and then people can look it up on their
Yeah.
own. But
So
in your thing, in the scroll
oh
bar.
no, it's by Zach Williams. Oh boy, we
Oh,
were
is
wrong.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, Matthew West was the one we did the other one.
Yeah, where I got in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can read the words. Um, when he told you you're not good enough, when he told you you're not right, when he told you you're not strong enough to put up a good fight, when he told you you're not worthy, when he told you you're not loved, when he told you you're not beautiful, you'll never be enough. Fear is a liar. He will take your breath, stop you in your steps. Fear, he is a liar. He will rob your rest, steal your happiness, cast your fear in the fire, 'cause fear, he is a liar.
Mm-hmm.
When he told you you were troubled, you'll forever be alone. When he told you you should run away, you'll never find a home. When he told you you were dirty and you should be ashamed. When he told you you could be the one that grace could never change. Fear is a liar. He will take your breath, stop you in your steps. Fear is a liar. He will rob your rest, steal your happiness, cast your fear in the fire, because fear, he is a liar. And then there's a nice little chorus of let your fire fall and cast out all your fears. Let your fire fall. Your love is all I feel. And that repeats several times. And I think that's, yeah. And then the last part is he will rob your rest, steal your happiness, cast your fear in the fire, because fear, he is a liar.
So, and I mean, so even if you don't believe in God, just fear can, if you allow yourself to stay in it, or you will even allow your child to stay in fear, you are doing them an injustice because it
Yeah.
will steal their rest, it will steal their peace, it will steal their health because
Right.
eventually their health will suffer because they will become so fearful. I'm not saying that fear is easily overcome, bam,
Right.
and you're done. But I'm saying you cannot allow it to become the ruler over your every moment.
Right.
If, or you'll cease to exist eventually.
Right. And we see that in.
And I just say that and I say that I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're okay. Go
I
ahead.
say that because it's a personal experience that I say that. Because if I had allowed fear to continue, I would cease to exist. But through God and through professional help and through friends, I've overcome fears, or so that I can see past them now and see that fear is a lie.
Yeah.
So I'm not dismissing or someone's fear or saying it's an easy road, but I'm saying it's a road you need to go down. You cannot choose to ignore it because eventually you're going to end up circling back to that road.
Right. And I will share a story of why, come here, why my fear of my arms is the fear that it is. Because, and my mom never knew this story. It happened when I was seven, I guess, 7 or 8 years old. We went for swimming lessons. And at the time, it was just high school aged people that were giving the swimming lessons. And on the very first day that we were there, I, for whatever reason, already seemed to have a fear of water. I don't remember an incident younger than that where I ever went under the water and didn't think I was going to come up. But anyway, the instructor wanted me to go underwater, and I was fearful. I didn't want to go, and I was a people pleaser, and I knew that she wanted me to go underwater, and I was getting anxious and I was getting upset because I could tell she was getting upset with me because I wouldn't go under the water. And I started to cry, and I don't remember her exact words, what she said to me to try to calm me down, but at some point she grabbed me by my arms and pulled me under the water, because I think she was trying to show me it's not a big deal. But at 7, and I was probably only underwater a few seconds, but to me, that those few seconds lasted. I mean, they just seemed like, instead of this amount of time, that it was like this. I'm going the wrong way. That it was, like this amount of time.
Uh-huh.
And I just insisted to my mom after that, I don't want to go back to swimming lessons. And I wouldn't tell her why. So she couldn't help me at that time face that fear. But I know for and I still have that. I'm very fearful of drowning. That's probably the biggest fear I have, but it's definitely like, if I feel like my arms can't do anything to help protect me, that's when my fear rises. But I have had to force Violet to go through some things that she became fearful of as soon as I knew about them, because I didn't want them to become so solid of a stronghold on her, like my fear did of me. And I mean, it was, I don't even know. I might have been in my 20s or my 30s before I ever even told my mom that had happened. And it, it is what it is. I mean, I don't blame that person that did it. I don't blame my mom for not knowing. It's just, it is what it was. But I think I've made it such a much bigger thing than it even really was, that is why still 40 something years later, I still don't know how to swim. And I've had a dozen people at least try to teach me to swim. Oh, I lied. She says, yes, you did. That's why you never finished your lessons and why I had words with the swimming instructor. Okay, well, I thought you told me when I mentioned it that you didn't know that. So, okay. It must have been something else. But she also says, when she's fearful or anxious, she listens to a CD of the Rosary. And for anyone who doesn't know what the Rosary is, it's a repetition of the Hail Mary, the Our Father, and there's another prayer, and I can't think of the Glory Be, I think. I'm not really sure. But she says she doesn't know why it works, but she found it and did it for 10 years, and it's been working for her. And Alex said, when we were talking about fear and acknowledging people's feelings, at the same time, it needs to be validated to a point and not minimized, or that person feels even more different. And that's absolutely, I agree with that. And so I, even just talking about that story, can you tell that my breathing increased? Like, okay.
So what are some of the strategies about which we've spoken to this point that you could try?
I'm slowing down and I'm taking deep breaths at the moment.
And lower your shoulders.
I lowered my shoulders. I'm not doing this. I let them. Yeah. And that's a very good point, is being aware of what your body is doing. Because we do tighten up muscles and tighten up shoulders, and like this is me, like my protection. Like if I can hold myself close, that's just my way of handling it.
And I think, as you and I are even walking through the moment with you right now, laughter.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's laughter, inappropriate laughter, because you really shouldn't be laughing, but you're either going to cry or you're going to laugh or you're going to scream. So it comes out as laughter.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, as adults, we laugh. Think about maybe some of our younger people who happen to have different needs, and they laugh and they get in trouble because they're laughing when they shouldn't be laughing. Well,
Right.
That's how it's coming out at that moment. Yes, it's not appropriate. So you could work on what is socially appropriate, and I really struggle with socially appropriate. But you can work on that at another time. But in the moment, don't, like Alex had said, don't invalidate how they're dealing with it. If they're not physically hurting somebody or themselves, or in that form of socially inappropriate, then just let it go for right now. Do an Elsa.
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
Exactly.
you have to choose when to teach. You have to choose when it's appropriate to teach the social, to teach what would be more appropriate. How's that sound in that situation?
Right. I've been some of my master IEP coaches. We talk about wanted and unwanted behaviors. So finding a behavior that is either more appropriate or a more wanted behavior. Um, but excuse me. Yeah.
Bird fluffing its feathers.
Yeah. Just that release, like the letting it go. Mom says like a bird fluffing its feathers. And yeah, sometimes that like a physical manifestation, like you actually just let it go, where you actually perform an action. Even though it seems symbolic because you don't have anything to hold on to release, but sometimes that is helpful as well.
Sometimes putting something in your hand to release
Right.
in that symbolism, then it gives a concreteness to, and that's actually something you can do with someone that's having a hard time without having something tangible. You can
Right.
give them something tangible to release it. But
Right.
but that in itself sometimes can be a problem because you're like, I'm not going to do that. That's not right. I can't do that. It was like, well, someone wanted me to hit a pillow one time with a bat. No, I can't do that. You're not supposed to hit things. Let your anger out. No, I can't do that. Can't do that. So
You can hit a pillow because it doesn't feel it, so it's okay.
that in itself became an ongoing whatever.
Yeah. Obviously, your piano isn't on because I see your cat walking on it.
Yeah, no, it is not on at the moment.
He's not playing us any music that I can hear of anyway.
And my guitar's out. Oh, I do have some good news. I can update everybody if you'd like.
Sure. Oh, yes, please.
The reason the guitar's out, that's why I was going to say it. He's been here.
Awesome.
Because in this random world of COVID, okay, so he got it.
Oh.
But he was asymptomatic the entire time.
Oh, praise God for that.
And then, okay, so this is God's humor and his answer to prayers, and his ways are not our ways, because he had it, he's now free for a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was safer for me to take him out of there because his staff then had a quarantine, even though they were with him. It was the same staff. Bless these staff. He had this many staff that stayed with him. They just alternated back and forth this whole time.
Wow.
That's a lot of days to work in a row, back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, it is.
But but then they had their period of time. They had a quarantine or whatever. So it was safer for me to take him out than me to go there, because I would have to put on all the PPE,
sure,
personal protective equipment, and so he got to come here. And
that is awesome news.
Got the guitar out, he got the keyboard, and he made himself right back at home.
Oh, I bet he did. Oh, that just warms my heart. That's just so awesome to hear that, and to know, for anybody this is maybe your first time watching. Frans Son lives in Asilla, and he and she were not able to see each other for over let's see, I think it was 7 months. By the time,
100 and some days.
yeah, it was like 230 days, I think, by the time you finally got to see it. So I was trying to quickly do, like, I think that's about 6 months that they were not allowed because of the COVID stuff to even really interact with each other than by phone or by video. So the fact that he got to come home and you got to see him and you got to hug him, oh, what a great piece of information to share for our first Friday with Fran of 2021.
And we didn't get Christmas because he was on quarantine still, but that's okay. It just spread it out.
Yeah.
And so he's able to go to church now. And
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So you get to, so it wasn't just a one-time thing. Like you can still like go get him and take him and do things.
Yeah. I mean, I still have to, we still put a mask on him. And
Oh, well, yeah.
everything. And we don't just go hog wild and just everywhere. But it's been like today we went to a doctor together. I'm taking him all to all his medical appointments.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so now I have tears in my eyes because I'm so excited for you and so happy for both of you, but also for Allie to get to see her brother and to have some interaction.
She's not the happiest about it. She's used to having the house, but she actually loves him and she does really well. So
yeah,
she's been a blessing through it. And her their cousin got to see him, so it's been good.
That's so awesome.
It's just really neat. God's faithfulness through it all.
Well, and like you said, in his sense of humor, because here I know that you were fearful of Bubby getting COVID because of what could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's had it. And he was, one of the population of people who didn't have any real symptoms.
That we know. Yeah.
That you
know. Yeah. Right.
Right. And now you get to be around him.
And I just found out his staff made it through without testing positive through this whole thing.
That's incredible.
So that's their self-sacrifice, and so
yeah, that is so awesome.
And
awesome? So God took care of two big things right there.
Yeah. And so you're right about the fear. I could have let that fear, and I was fearful of giving it to him as well. When
right.
I only had a compassionate visit with him prior to him getting, but I know it did not come from me. So it was like, but I was so fearful once I knew that I could start doing compassionate visits,
right.
that I would be the one to introduce it to him and then into the facility or into the company. But I should have just trusted.
But sometimes it's hard. Even though we know we're going to be okay, we don't know what it's going to look like between now and okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I still have some worry about, like, okay, God, what are you going to put me through before I get back to okay? And so that part, sometimes I get concerned about that, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, whatever it is, if I get uncomfortable or, finances get tight or, the job doesn't turn out the way I want or whatever it is, I still know he's going to be walking with me through it. Mm-hmm. And that eventually, however long that takes, I will still be okay. Okay might not be the way I am right now today. It'll be a different okay. Just like the okay that I am now is not the okay that I was before Kevin and I got married or, 10 calendar years ago. So we all keep changing, and that's okay.
It's okay. You're right.
It's okay.
I'm thinking, you're okay. I'm like, as I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, I'm in a wheelchair. I'm okay. I really am. Because if I weren't where I am now, I wouldn't be able to be doing the things I'm doing.
Right.
I would be working in healthcare, and I wouldn't be able to be around Bubby at all because I would be working in healthcare. I just,
Right.
um,
Yeah. And
what is it? It's a scripture I always lean into. Many are man's plans, but the Lord's purpose prevails.
yes,
And it just, we plan and we plan and we plan and we worry about tomorrow. And today has its own worries that we need to focus
absolutely.
on which we need
Right.
to focus. Yeah.
Yeah. The scripture about, the sparrow doesn't worry, and yet it's always fed. It always has what it needs.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be more like the sparrow and just trust that it's going to be there. And yeah, I mean, sometimes, especially I think, and we're going to have to wrap up, but especially, here in the United States, I think we are so accustomed to a certain lifestyle that if we have to have less than what we're used to, we don't think we can survive. And we
I'm
can.
actually liking less.
Yeah. And I mean, depending on what the less is,
I mean less in all areas.
oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We are blessed beyond we are blessed more than we deserve. No matter where we are, no matter what stage in life we're in, no matter whether we're believers or not. Everybody, I mean, if people read the Bible and if everyone believed in what the words of the Bible say, it says that everyone is a sinner, and sin will take you away. And in the times of the Bible, they had to make sacrifices. And if you didn't make sacrifices, you weren't atoned for your sins. Well, we don't have to do that because we have Jesus as our atonement for every sin. So we really don't deserve to do what we do because I never made a sacrifice. Jesus made that for me. So yeah, I always feel that I'm better than I deserve to be. So, well, we hope you can wrap up if there's something you want to say. We have this many.
I'm good. I think I'm just going to sum up as in fear is real in the moment, and don't take it personal, and lean into it and ask for help.
Yeah. And we've got strategies that we talked about. We talked about prayer. We talked about breathing. We talked about working through it with a friend. We talked about writing it down. We talked about listening to music. We talked about focusing on small parts of it, like you just said, breaking it down and taking care of the things you can take care of at the moment. We talked about social stories. If we can help you in any way, let us know. We are not counselors or psychiatrists or licensed in any way, shape, or form. But we do have good ears to listen. And sometimes that's really as much as you need. But we would recommend, if you need something more, to find someone who is licensed and who is trained with more strategies than what we listed here. Because like I said, some fears, I still have the fear of drowning, and I've had it since I was 7 years old, and I turned 50 last month. So that's a long, long time to have a fear. So I've tried to get over it, and I've not been able to overcome it. I've given it to God, and I still have it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that one, but one of these days, I am going to break through that. So yeah, if you, absolutely, Alex, thank you for your comments. Thank you for joining us. Mom, thank you for your comments as well, and for joining us again today. If you would like that social story, if you would like a IEP checklist, you can head on over to my website, shellykino.com. If you would like a copy of my book, Those Who Can't Teach, you can order that through Amazon, your local bookstore. It's soon to be out in ebook. I don't know why it still isn't. You can order that through my website and you'll get the autographed copy. If there's anything else we can do for you to help make you better than what you were before you interacted with us, we want to try to do that. We are here. for you. And we are both trying to make this world better for all, one IEP and one comment at a time. Have a great day, everybody.